Good evening. This is the regular Planning Commission meeting for Citrus Heights, California, and I'd like to call this meeting of April 28th to order. It is 6 o'clock. And will you all join me in the flag salute? Chair Sheila, will you lead us, please? Thank you for that. And Madam Secretary, will you take the roll call?
Commissioner Al-Rawi is absent. Commissioner Sheeler.
Here.
Commissioner Yusick. Here. Commissioner Van Duker.
Here.
Vice Chair Kaufman.
Here.
Chair Flowers.
Here.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
That's going to be consent calendar approval of minutes for April 14th, 2026.
Very good. Now it's time for the consent calendar, and we have one item on the consent calendar, which are the minutes from April 14th of 2026 meeting. Does anyone from the commission or the public wish to pull the consent item for discussion? Okay, can I get a motion, please, to approve the consent calendar?
I move we approve.
Okay,
I second.
great. We have a motion by Sheeler and a second by, was that Van Duker?
Yep.
Thank you.
We don't need to take an individual roll call.
Very
Just
good.
all at once.
Motion passes with unanimous consent. Next item, please.
Public comment.
Okay, next item is public comment. The portion of the agenda is available for the public to address the planning commission on any issue that is not on the agenda. There'll be a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Do we have any public comment tonight? Seeing that there is no public comment, we'll ask for the next item, please.
That is regular calendar, zoning code amendments.
Okay, we will hear, I believe, the first presentation by the staff. Is that correct? All right, followed by the commissioner questions, and then we'll open it up for public comment if there is any. And may we have the staff's presentation, please?
Yes. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Stephanie Louie, and on behalf of the Planning Division, I will be giving a presentation tonight on the 2026 zoning code updates. So to start, here's a brief overview of the general plan and zoning code. So just in general, the general plan provides broad goals, objectives, policies, and actions which are intended to guide the city's future development. And the zoning code implements the general plan by outlining allowable intensity of land uses and lists permitted and conditional uses in each zone. The zoning code also regulates building design, setbacks, height, landscaping, tree preservation, signs, parking, etc. So why do we update the zoning code? So typically we go do a review of the zoning code annually, and we address it or update for compliance with state law. A lot of times there are changes to state laws, and we have to ensure that the city is compliant with those. It also provides us an opportunity to revise sections as necessary for clarity and creating a more user-friendly document. And then the Planning Commission reviews these proposed ordinances and changes and forwards a recommendation to the City Council. So just as an overview of these changes, if you remember back in February, I presented an overhaul of changes to our ADU code. I'll do a refresher in the next slide, but just some other notable changes to the zoning code include updates to our land use table, including a couple different uses, and then updates to our SB 9 two-unit development regulations. So as a refresher, back in February of this year, we introduced our changes to our ADU ordinance. That introduced a state and local pathway for ADUs, so residents and applicants can choose under single-family designation a state pathway to build their ADUs or a local pathway. And these changes were made to align with recent updates to the state ADU laws and that ensure the city is in compliance with these laws. Other updates included fire sprinkler requirements, garage conversions, and parking replacement. And they also included how we measure interior space for ADUs within houses. Oh, and ultimately, so that, we discussed that in February, and it did not go to City Council. So we're bundling it with this presentation tonight so that all of these items that are updated in the code will go to City Council. Another change that we introduced was incorporating the addition of an accessory educational use. So over the years, we've had a couple of inquiries regarding the use of existing classroom facilities in churches or religious facilities for tutoring or homeschool education. Previously, we would classify this use as a school, which under our current zoning code requires a use permit for school or school-type use in residential zones, where a lot of church facilities are existing. And so by creating an accessory educational use, it allows for educational and instructional activities within churches. And the intent is that the facilities are already existing and allow for education uses, typically with like Sunday school and is ancillary to the church. So this use would also be incidental to the religious assembly use. There are specific requirements that the accessory educational use would require, which is they would have to be within an existing religious assembly use or church, and they couldn't occupy more than 30% of the building site. Otherwise, they would be allowed by right, as long as the church itself is approved and permitted with a use permit or permitted by right. So another update was with the SB 9 updates, and one of the clarifying changes that we had was for compliance with state law, and that is through the distinction of the number of units through SB 9 with a lot split or without a lot split. So this is something that's referred to as the rule of 4. The state law basically kind of made a designation stating regardless of whether you use SB 9 with a 2-unit development with or without a split, the maximum number of units on utilized could be 4. And so this slide kind of shows an example of what could be possible. Without a split, which is one parcel, you could have up to 2 primary units, and then your 2 additional units could be a combination of ADUs or JADUs under single-family designation. And then that total would ultimately not be able to exceed 4 units. And then if an applicant were to choose to split the lot, there would be 2 units on each lot, so the total with SB 9 would still not exceed 4 total units. So another use that we added was employee housing, and this is, we added this as a permitted land use in the residential use table, and this is to comply with the Employee Housing Act, which allows for an employer to provide housing for employees, whether or not rent is involved. It's also known as the farm worker housing, and our amendment to the zoning code allows for employee housing for 6 or fewer employees to be allowed by right in residential homes. Kind of like what we discussed earlier prior to the meeting, but you know, it's to allow this as a residential use, so the city or jurisdiction wouldn't have any, there wouldn't be any review for something if there was 6 or fewer people living in this unit, similar to care facilities or residential care facilities that are existing, or even, I think, sober living as well. Additional changes in the zoning code apply to murals. This allows for murals to be placed in fences and walls facing arterial streets in residential zones. And we added this so that they would have a 60-day completion window to apply and complete, once they were approved, to complete the mural. Also changes to animal keeping. We made changes to clarify that animal keeping in a residential use cannot be a primary use, so that would prohibit animal keeping on vacant lots. So if someone has a large property with no existing home, they couldn't just use it for storing horses or something on a residential lot. Another change that we did was for the child daycare, and this basically just updated our definition and terms to align with the California Health and Safety Code definition and classification, and just to make them more aligned with what was existing in their terms. So that is a overhaul of what our changes were. Kind of what we'll go through next is we can review and answer any questions, public comment, we can have additional discussion, and then the commission would make a recommendation or forward to city council. And then I should have mentioned in the beginning, we did have some minor changes to the staff report and some of your exhibits that were on your dais when you sat down. A majority of these changes were just clarifying changes, making it more user-friendly and easier to read and aligning better with the state regulations with the updates.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie, for that presentation. It was wonderful. Commissioner, does anyone have any questions for Stephanie?
I have a few. Under the religious church, using 30% of it, could you clarify for me, you talked about the assembly area, so basically the actual church area where they hold services?
It's church and if they have other buildings used for educational uses. So some of them have like classrooms already existing on there, so it's 30% of the total gross area of the buildings.
For the, under SB 9, the up to 4 units, is there a lot size? There's no lot size requirement? If you
No.
jam it on there, that works?
Yeah, so with existing ADU law, you could have technically up to 3 ADUs on a residential property with a single-family home. Through the state, there's a limit for a detached, which is 800 square feet. And then and the other 2 that you could have are conversions of existing space. So you could do a junior ADU, which has to be completely within the existing home, and it's a limit of 500 square feet. And another one is another interior conversion, but that also has to be existing space. Through our local standards with a single family, we allow for 1 detached ADU that could be up to 1,200 square feet, and then a junior ADU, which is that 500 square feet. They would still need to meet our lot coverage requirements, so that is something that we look for, and our setback requirements. Kind of depends on what they're using. If they're adding a primary home, they have some setback requirements for SB 9. If they're doing an ADU, those are a little less restrictive, but it's still, it's a pretty fair use of space with the existing regulations that we already have.
Okay, just one more question. Under the employee housing, is there any requirement for what that housing unit is? I mean, is it, does it have a kitchen? Does it have a bathroom? Does it, I mean, is there any specificity as to what the unit has, what services the unit has in order for this to be considered a residential unit for up to 6 employees?
Yeah, so it's usually an existing single-family home that would be used or converted to like employee housing. Typically, it's not something that we would see on our end because it is allowed by right. Just like residential care facilities, they may do minor changes by adding like, more bedrooms or something.
Yeah.
But it has to be up to building code and what is considered a livable space through building.
One last question, sorry, commissioners. Under any one of these things, I look at things like this religious item and 30%. Who checks on that? Code enforcement?
We would when they would come to see if the use would be allowed.
Was that, I'm sorry?
So when we get these requests, people will ask us if a use is allowed, if they can, convert the space or use the space for, if it's homeschool twice a week, they would ask, okay, is it allowed? Can we use it at this church or do we need to convert anything? And so we would verify what the amount of space, and typically we could put it on their a business license or their license that they're only limited to, this amount of space in the facility.
All right, thank you.
Stephanie, I have a question that relates to the animal zoning, I guess. For those that actually have animals on vacant lots, how will the city address that?
So technically, that would be a code enforcement issue, and we're complaint-based. So, I mean, realistically, we wouldn't know unless someone were to report them.
I just am, I'm aware of some of our residents, even some nearby, that have these big, large sprawling lots, and there are animals on them, horses and.
Yeah, and it's mostly related to, where we have some random pieces that people will purchase, and then they'll just put their animals there, but they don't live there, and so the animals don't have running water, they don't have shelter, and it becomes a code enforcement issue. So that's really what that is targeting, are those random pieces where people will purchase really cheap, and then just put their animals there, and then they're unkept and uncared for. If the animals are there and there's a house nearby and they're being kept, it probably wouldn't rise to our attention, but it's really to focus on the ones that we're having issues with.
So in order to comply, they would have to put a dwelling, a
Correct.
livable, inhabitable dwelling on that property with the animals?
Mhm.
Okay, or ask to remove the animals from the, okay. Any other questions from the commission? No? And so I'll open it for public comment. And seeing that there is no one here
none.
to address any public comment, I'll close public comments. Very good. And we'll deliberate and come back with motion. Yeah, good. So we do need to, we've got a motion on the table, or I'll ask for a motion actually from the commission.
Do we read the whole motion, or can I just say,
You can just say move motion 1 and then move motion 2.
okay, move motion 1?
And we'll do these separately? Okay, do I have a sec?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first by Van Duker, and a second by Sheeler. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good, motion carries by unanimous consent. And may I have a motion two?
I move motion 2.
I will second.
Very good. Motion by Van Duker, second by Sheeler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good, motion carries by unanimous consent. Next item, please. Oh, do I don't need to read the appeal. Next item, please.
That is going to be general correspondence and presentations and reports by city staff.
Hi, Commission. Thank you for being here tonight. I thought I would give you a little overview of what's coming down the pipeline. I know our meeting schedule's kind of been hit and miss, and it's kind of difficult to plan your life. But I want you to know we are working very hard behind the scenes with our zoning code update that we did last year, where we reduced the level of approval for some projects for economic development purposes. We're really busy behind the scenes. They're just not coming to you. But you do have some stuff coming down the pipeline that I thought I'd go over. We have an application in review for a new subdivision, Wintergreen and Old Auburn, a 14-lot subdivision proposed for that long-standing vacant lot, typically used, you see it used for storage of construction materials, for road projects and so forth. So we are working with the developer on that. That'll be 14 lots. That should be before you this summer. Oh, 19 lots, I'm sorry. See, Stephanie's the smart one, not me. So 19 lots there at that corner. And then some upcoming applications that we have not officially received, but we've been working with the development community on, that you thought you might be interested in. The Greenback Fire Station 26, the one that's right up here towards Auburn Boulevard. Sacramento Fire is proposing to demolish that station and build a new fire safety building. So that's a really exciting project. It's going to be a beautiful building to accommodate their fire workers and meet the needs of kind of a modern-day fire house. That one's pretty old. So that will be coming to you rather shortly, probably early summer. We'll see that one. They're kind of moving that one through the process quickly. We have 2 gas stations that will be coming before you for expanding. One, the Auburn and Antelope, will be converting to an AM/PM, I believe, and expanding their pumps. That will be for you. And then the old Watson Way and Auburn Boulevard closed down gas station. We're looking, that one might be reopening, so that will be coming before you as well. And then working very closely with Citrus Heights Water District on their master plan. They are moving their offices over to Madison Avenue in office complex over there on Madison. And so their office will be over there, and then what's on Sylvan will become their maintenance construction yards. So we're working with them as they'll need to do some zoning amendments and so forth to make that work. So that will be coming to you this summer as well. The last meeting, you reviewed the environmental documents for a trail extension at Old Auburn. We have 2 more of those coming before you. Sayonara to Mariposa trail extension will be coming there. It's about a half-mile long. And then Stock Ranch Nature Preserve to Sylvan Road, that extension, it will also be coming before you. So those are 2 trail extension projects we're very excited about. And then kind of looking either further down the road, it's hard to believe, but our housing element will need recertified in 2029, but it's really kind of under work already. So the first part of that is getting our regional housing needs allocation. So that will be coming probably next year. We'll be getting some preliminary numbers and working through that. So we'll be before you with updates as that progresses. But it's hard to believe that we're looking at things happening in 2029 already. So I just wanted to give you that update to let you know that we're here working, and we hope to see you quite a bit this summer with some new projects. I would like to turn it over to Daniel. He has some updates for general services, but I wanted to also let you know that he was selected as
American Public Works Association, APWA.
American Public Works Association, AWPA, as Manager of the Year. Manager of the Year.
Well, congratulations.
So congratulations. A lot of that had to do with his work. If you remember last year, he presented to you that FEMA information and how he was working so hard for the community to get reduced FEMA or insurance rates if you're near a flood zone. His work, all his work on that really deserved the accolades that he got, and I think contributed to his selection, so we're proud of him.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Allison. Good evening, commissioners and chair. Daniel Carey here from General Services, just to provide a quick update of other activities going on in General Services. I will not steal the thunder of my boss, the city engineer, Leslie Bloomquist, who gave a fantastic presentation of our current projects in construction throughout the city to City Council just a few weeks ago. Feel free to pull up that video. I couldn't do better, so I'm just going to leave that with her. For our projects in design, we do have quite a few. Allison did mention our 2 trail extensions. The Stock Ranch to Sylvan Road extension is actually planning to go through environmental circulation in May, so I'll probably be talking to you guys next meeting. We're also working on the continued phases of San Juan Avenue. We've completed Phase 1A from Madison to Chestline. We have Phase 1B and subsequently Phase 2 that'll get us all the way to Greenback with similar complete street style improvements and brand new roadway surface as well. As you can see, construction equipment's out there working really hard on our 2025 resurfacing streets. We're doing about 50 miles, 100 roads right now. We are actually planning to bid the accessibility and drainage, so that is the drainage repairs, curb ramps, and any median repairs associated with both 26 and 27 streets this summer. So that'll be a fantastic project. I also have a bridge maintenance and creek erosion project as we get our inspection reports from Caltrans and also notice erosion along our creeks. We identify key areas we definitely want to protect our infrastructure, and that project's moving forward. We did just recently award and kick off our Sunrise Tomorrow frontage, not to be confused with the amazing sports complex that has been developing, but this is actually a city project to develop the future road widening needs, a multi-use path along and a brand new signal on Sunrise into the Sunrise Mall property, essentially planning the future of that corridor and getting the public space ready to make the development potential look even more enticing. But it'll include a 10-foot walking path, new signal. We're going to relocate the bus stop from being on Sunrise to actually on-site, and eventually there will be a full transit center there as well. And that is the entirety of the property frontage along Greenback and along Sunrise. We're also going to be presenting to City Council here shortly our local roadway safety plan, where we take a look at all of the accidents that happened throughout the city in the last 5 years, figure out our most challenging intersections and corridors, and try to apply some engineering or enforcement with our police department measures to make our roadways a little bit safer and a little bit smoother. So that'll be great. That's quite a bit of our projects in design, and then more exciting for me, it is an even year, which means it's grant season. So we are actively applying for 3 different projects for a State of Good Repair grant with SACOG. I have an active FEMA mitigation grant for a creek realignment and erosion project as well. We are also going to do a system performance grant to hopefully get us through the finish line on those San Juan projects. A handful of active transportation projects to get our trails and the Gateway Activation Project through the finish line as well. And that is my update, but I'm here for any questions.
The Winter Green subdivision, will that be affected by the revision of Old Auburn with the roundabouts and so forth?
No, sir, it's a little bit further upstream on Old Auburn, the Gateway Activation Project is.
Very good. Daniel, thank you. Allison, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Next item, please.
We have no further items.
Wonderful. Well, we've reached the end of our meeting, and I will...
Before you
Oh, sorry.
close the meeting, I do have a question for staff.
Okay.
Any update on the property next to the Veterans Hall? I saw the project development sign.
Yes, I forgot. So right now, the applicant is still working with the Veterans Center to hopefully purchase the property. He's been very, very kind and cooperative. He's still in discussion since that meeting. He's been in discussion and has been updating me. They still haven't come to an agreement yet. Last I heard is that the Veterans Center is still looking to secure the funds to purchase the property. But again, he's working really well with them.
Great, that's good news, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Then I will adjourn this meeting at 6:27. Thank you, everybody.